Single-gender schools are more beneficial to students than mixed-gender schools. Research shows both boys and girls do better academically in single-gender schools. The number of success in education for both boys and girls in single-gender schools have been better than mixed-gender schools. Single-gender schools are more beneficial to students than mixed-gender schools. When males and females are separated, the learning becomes a focus, not the opposite gender. In single-gender classrooms, students achieve the learning goals in all classes. When students go to single-gender schools, they will have less peer pressure. Teachers will have to deal with less problems when in single-gender schools. Students will be able to get a better education when in single-gender schools. When students go to single-gender schools, they will have less peer pressure for boys and for girls. According to Robin Kennedy, when girls go to single-gender schools, they stop being the audience and become the players. When girls go in single-gender schools, they will not be afraid to speak what they think, and as Kennedy states, they will become the players in their game of life. Kennedy is also quoted saying, the social pressure in single-gender schools is less than in co-ed schools. Students will be more comfortable not only at school, but also be more confident students. In addition, there are more positive interactions for students in single-gender schools than in co-ed high schools. Because students get to know each other, they get to be more social and positive towards each other.
Not only are single-gender schools beneficial for students, they're beneficial for teachers as well. According to NASAP, teachers will be able to learn more about the gender they're teaching and connect to their students. Teachers will know more about that gender and understand what they're doing, how to teach. Another reason is teachers will only have to teach one gender and be more professional in that gender and will be more relaxed. Students will understand the subject that the teachers are teaching in single-gender schools than in co-ed schools. Because sometimes the co-ed schools, teachers get so stressed when they're teaching their class that they tend to mess up and students don't tend to learn better, which can cause students to fail their assignments given by the teacher. And another reason is that teachers can design classes that will potentially really reach the students. In most cases in co-ed schools, the teachers don't get to connect with their students because they're focused on getting the learning done and trying to design the class that can help the students and help the learning done, get the learning done, which causes for most students in co-ed schools not to achieve their goals in the classroom or to understand what's going on. But in single-gender schools, the learning is better because the teachers can really connect with the students and design classes to help the students achieve the goals in the class and understand what's going on.
Students will be able to get a better education when in single-gender schools because boys will be able to learn visually. That way there will be not be very many distractions for them, such as the opposite gender. They won't have to worry about how they should act or how to impress the opposite gender, so they'll be more focused on learning. Boys tend to learn better when physically active. Girls tend to be more cautious when participating in conversations. When girls aren't around boys, they tend to act smarter and wiser exactly how they should. Because some teenage girls in co-ed schools around boys, they try to do a bunch of random things to impress the boys. And when boys are around girls, they try to impress the girls most by using sports, which causes for the boys to focus more on impressing girls than actually playing sports and being active. Then in single-gender schools, both boys and girls focus more on what they should do because the other gender is not around the table in their focus. Students will be able to focus on education and excel in what they do because if we allow students to go to single-gender schools, they will have less distractions and be able to focus on their education. If they focus on their education, they will have success in their education. Single-gender schools will be more beneficial to boys and girls because both of them have different needs and learn differently. Students will be less stressed about school.
We want more girls engaged in robotics, computer programming, physics, and engineering. Dr. Sachs, the founder of the Pennsylvania-based National Association for Single-Sex Education, stated in a telephone interview. We want more boys engaged in poetry, creative writing, and the Spanish language. These things have a greater chance of happening in a mixed-gender school. We believe that single-gender schools do not have as many advantages as mixed-gender schools for students. First off, economically, it's not as beneficial for the school if they're trying to save money. Next, students may get the academic attention they need in single-gender schools they might not get it in single-gender schools to further their learning. Finally, single-gender schools might surround their students with stereotypes or promote stereotypes that aren't encouraging or necessarily helpful for the students. After listening and learning about both sides of the proposition, you will see students should not have to go to a place where they do not receive all their needs and experience things that can help them in the future.
It's common sense that buying 2 things is more expensive than buying 1. Same goes for single-sex schools. More teachers means more money to pay. At $42,000 to $46,000 for a yearly salary, it certainly costs more to hire 2 staff for 2 schools. At $150 per desk, $35 per chair, and adding a cost of 50 teacher salaries, which is the amount we have here at South, not including office, and $25 million for Timberline, which is the average for school, your grand total becomes $58.4 million for a single-gender school district, just the middle school, much more than Waukee is paid. Academically, boys and girls get exposed to different learning styles that they can't get in single-gender schools. Without those new learning styles, it hurts their academic improvement. If boys and girls are in mixed-gender schools, they'll be encouraged to try different things, unlike if they weren't, forcing them to follow the vicious stereotypes. If they try something new, they'll pursue it in the future. A girl in Denver Middle School in Pittsburgh was diagnosed with ADD. She kept getting in trouble in class because she couldn't stop moving around, unlike boys who are encouraged to move around. Scientific research shows that there's no academic improvement in single-gender schools. It actually hurts them by repackaging harmful stereotypes. They say they put students in single-sex schools because they learn better without the other gender. A post from the Huffington Post, written by Kirsten Maschika, explained that this is what supports how they have to be different. Interacting in 2 different ways reinforces those stereotypes. They say that they avoid sexual harassment, but they don't. According to the Women's Equality Resource Center, they're still getting harassed as much as they did in co-ed schools by being called names and teased for their actions. Separating kids because of physical attributes, like race or gender, is destroying all that we worked hard toward, ending segregation.
Great. Now we have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
That's right there, the camera. Hi, Mrs. Radke and Miss Elliott. Yeah, she's supposed to be on YouTube. We'll probably just turn out. No, it's over his head.
Okay, audience members, let's read momentum back up to the front. We're doing a very nice job so far, so let's keep that momentum going as we finish this out. We will start with the affirmative rebuttal, then negative. You will come up for your rebuttals, and then we'll swap back again to do closing and closing. You ready to go, ladies?
My opponent says that there's no proof in single-gender schools are beneficial to students, but we disagree because a professor at Stetson University said that he took a survey and the results were 87% of the parents thought that single-gender schools increase the students' self-esteem and motivation. Therefore, single-gender schools are more beneficial to students than mixed-gender schools. My opponent says that there's the same amount of stress no matter the gender, but we disagree because Mr. Wright, a principal at mixed-gender schools, did an experiment showing that when kids are split up, they see the less stress and less bullying and less harassment throughout the school. And so therefore, single-gender schools can be beneficial to students and teachers as well. My opponent said even though there are single-gender schools, boys and girls will still have the same amount of peer pressure no matter the school they go to. So we disagree because Robert Kennedy, private school expert, says that there's more positive interactions with the kids in single-gender schools because no one has to worry about more peer pressure than there are in co-ed schools and in single-gender schools. Therefore, single-gender schools are more beneficial to students than mixed-gender schools.
Our opponents say that there is less peer pressure at single-sex schools than mixed-gender schools. We disagree because even if they do not see peer pressure physically, there is social media and internet allowing all sorts of peer pressure through the technology that we have today. Therefore, single-sex schools, they have no proof that single-sex schools have less peer pressure at their school than mixed. That's what I got.
Single-gender schools are more beneficial than mixed-gender schools because students will be experiencing less peer pressure in single-gender schools. Teachers will have less problems to worry about, and students will also be able to have a better education when learning the ways that they're able to. And that's why we believe that single-gender schools are better for students and the teachers because they all feel less stress and the students will feel less pressure. We hope you agree with this and help make single-gender schools more available to the public. Single-gender schools do make a difference in society. Don't you agree?
Today we have presented you with evidence supporting that mixed-gender schools are more beneficial for students than single-gender schools. As you have learned, mixed-gender schools have many benefits. For example, if the school district is wanting to save money, mixed-gender schools will help save. Not only are you saving money, but academically, students will be surrounded by different ways of learning. If they don't understand the first way of learning, there are other ways of learning helping them be successful. Finally, students will have less of a chance of being stereotyped by the school and can experience opportunities that can further them in life. Being surrounded by different learning styles and opportunities can definitely benefit students in many ways, especially through school. School's purpose is to give students the tools they need to be successful in every aspect. When you segregate students in single-gender schools, you're taking away the opportunity for them to learn and grow, view from different viewpoints, and more. They will use these skills to further themselves in life, so why wouldn't you start your child at a